Hi, welcome to Tech Scene. Today I'm going to discuss about MAC address. Let's go into the topic. Let's see, these are the agenda for the MAC address. What is MAC address and what is the format of MAC address? How to find it and types of MAC addresses, why we are using MAC address and the reason behind IP address and MAC address. Why don't we use the MAC address instead of IP address? Okay, and let's see what is MAC address. Before discuss about MAC address, let's say one simple example. Suppose you want to say hi to your friend who is staying in a far distance. Either to say hi, you need to know their mobile number or else Facebook or any application that you want to use, Messenger or anything. At least you should know their email address or Messenger ID or Facebook ID to say hi, right? Likewise, so we need some address to communicate to them, or you want to send a letter to him. For that, you need to know the postal address of your friend. So, as you notice, for communication, we need an address. Likewise, in computers, you want to send an information from one system to another system over the world, you need an address. If you see, there are two addresses are here. One is MAC address and IP address. Each address works in different layer. MAC address works at data link layer and IP address works at network layer. So, what is MAC address? It's a unique 48-bit address. How it comes? When they are manufacturing the NIC cards, while manufacturing, they burn this address on the NIC. So it's not been changeable. It's a unique address initially. And we can also call it in a different names. Hardware address, physical address, burnt in address. And also we can also call it as Ethernet address. So it belongs to data link layer, works in the data link layer of the OSI model. And normally, as we saw in previous sessions, in IEEE 802 standard, data link layer is subdivided into two layers, which is logical link control sublayer and media access control sublayer. Most of the higher portion is occupied by the logical link control layer, which belongs to IP address related to the network layer, and media access control layer used by the media access used by MAC address. Okay, so in this, to identify the MAC address and IP address, we can use the ARP protocol, which is address resolution protocol. What it do? It works in the layer 2 communication, which is the data link layer. It maps the MAC address to the IP address. Okay, this is the main purpose of the ARP. Okay, and we can see this ARP, how this protocol works in the upcoming session. And let's see what is the format of MAC address. As we said, it's a 48-bit address. So let's see. Here we can see 6 octet. Each one of the octet have 8 bits. So 8-bit means 6 into 8. How much? 48-bit. Means it's a 48-bit address. Okay. In this, we can also call it as 12-digit hexadecimal number or 6-byte binary number, and we can also call it as 48-bit address. So first 24 bits will be used by organizationally unique identifier. The next 24 bits used by network interface controller, which is by the manufacturer, and it's represented in 3 notations. One is hyphen hexadecimal notation, colon hexadecimal, and period separator hexadecimal. These we can see in our Windows and Linux based systems. We can see this format, and this one is mostly on Cisco systems. We can see this colon based colon hexadecimal. And in this, I forgot to mention, in the first 24 bits of the first octet, if you take the first octet, here you can see 8 bits. If the first bit is represented as 0 means it's a unicast address. If it is represented as 1 means it's a multicast address. We'll tell you what is unicast, multicast and broadcast. Then if the second bit is 0 means it's a globally unique, and 1 is locally administrator. And let's see how to find the MAC address in our systems. This is a command that we use to find the MAC address in Unix and Linux, ifconfig. If you use the ifconfig, you will get the details of the MAC address and IP address of this PC. And for Windows, either you can use ipconfig or ipconfig all. For Mac, TCP/IP control plane. And this is the simple example where to find the IP address in our PCs. This is Windows. We have used the ipconfig/all, and you will get the Ethernet adapters, local area connection IP address details. This is the physical address, which is the MAC address, and this is the adapter that we are using for the local area connection, and this is the IP address. So for this IP address, this MAC address has been used, and default gateway DNS server. And let's see what are the types of MAC address. There are 3 types of MAC address. One is unicast, multicast and broadcast. Unicast means, suppose I want to send a data to particular device. I know the device MAC address. I want to send the data to that particular device, means that is unicast, 1 to 1. Multicast, 1 to many or 1 to group. And broadcast means 1 to all. Let's see, I am aware of server's MAC address. I want to send the frame from my host to server. Okay, say this is a unicast address. For unicast, as we told, first octet or first digit should be 0, means I am doing the unicast address. I am using the unicast address. Okay, and for multicast, I am going to send it to group of devices. Okay, group of devices in my network. See, I am going to send it to only 3 devices, not to the 4th one. So for this, as we discussed, the first octet of the MAC address, first bit, if it is set to 0, it's a unicast. If set to 1, it's a multicast. We can easily identify. Okay, and for broadcast, 1 to all. I'm not aware of the destination MAC address. I don't know, means I don't know all the PC's MAC address. So what I do, blindly I will broadcast to all, means 1 to all, which is broadcast. So for broadcast, I will use the MAC address of FFFFF. Okay. Now let's go into see why we are going to use the MAC address. Because these are unique number which is used to track the device in the network. And why MAC address is used? It provides the secure way to find the sender or receiver in the network, and it also helps to prevent the unwanted network access. So that we are using the MAC address. And mostly nowadays we are using the internet to get the Wi-Fi connection on railway stations, or coffee shops, airports, how they are providing the MAC address. So what they do, they register our MAC address in their network to identify us, and they provide the IP address. Okay, and these are normally a flat structure, so they are not be routable on the internet. MAC address only used within the LAN. Suppose I want to, okay, this is router, and I want to communicate to T. Okay, source, and uh, let's consider this is switch, and I have hundreds of devices, and in that I want one of my device name is yes. Yes want to communicate to T, but T is not in my network. Okay, how to reach the T? Within my network, by using the MAC table. MAC, what it do, it floods the uh, it broadcasts a frame, and it do the ARP resolution and finds the MAC address of the T. But right now I am in a different network. So for different network, routing is not possible by using the switch. Routing only done by the routers. Okay. So for this reason, routers are involved. Let's see what is the reason to have both IP and MAC address. So this is the best example where we can easily understand why we are using the MAC address and IP address. Why don't we use only one address? Suppose A want to send the data to B. Okay, these are all in the same network. A MAC address is A, and consider there are two switches are connected together, which is a blue switch and green switch. Okay. If A want to send the frame to B, what A do? First, it sends the frame to blue switch. Okay. What it do? It checks the MAC table. Initially, when the devices are connected, the MAC address table is empty. They don't have any records of the details of PCs that are connected. So now blue switch receives the frame from the A. So it checks the source MAC address from where I have received this frame. So at port 1, it receives the frame of A. So what it stores? It stores the MAC address of A at the port 1. How it mentioned? At port 1, I have received the MAC address. If anybody want to reach the port 1, then the frame will directly go to system A. This is the meaning of MAC address table. And now what MAC address do? It don't know the destination MAC address of the B. What it do? It floods the frame to other ports apart from the received port. Okay. Now, once it floods the frame, even green switch is not aware of MAC address of the B. Empty. Initially, it was empty. Now, what B switch do? Again, it floods to all the ports. Okay. Apart from the port which is received at the frame. Now green switch received, where it received? At port 4. Port 4, if anybody want to communicate to A, please reach out to port 4 on green switch. Okay, this is the main. What C and D do? They are not the B, so they discard the packet, or they drop the packet at D and C. B, what D do? D would reject the frame. Okay. C also rejects the frame. B, B's IP address is accepted. Then what B do? B accepts the frame and it replies back to A. Hey, I am B. This is my MAC address. So it sends back to A. How it sends? It reaches to green switch and then it checks the port according to the green switch. Green switch it checks the MAC address table. So to reach the A, please reach out to port 4 and it goes to port 4. At port 4 it reaches the switch A, blue switch, and to reach out to system A, reach to port 1, from port 1 to PC A. Okay. At the end, we can see all the addresses are filled with the MAC address table. A's address, C, D, B, all the address has been filled. And the default MAC staging time of the MAC address table is 300 seconds, means 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if there is no communication is happening, suppose there is no communication is happening from C or D, what it do? It removes that particular entries from the table. And again, how it will happen? Once they connect back, again the same process. It sends the frame to switch. If C want to communicate to B or A, it sends the frame and again switch will broadcast. Then again the information has been stored on the switches every time. If any machine want to talk, their entry should be available. If it is not available, switch will broadcast a frame from all the ports on the switch. Practically this is not impossible because we have billions of networks, billions of devices which are connected over the world. So every time if it is broadcasting, it uses the bandwidth and also it wasting the bandwidth while broadcasting. So for that reason, we only use the MAC address within the local area connection and physical logical address, which is the IP address, outside the network. In simple words, like you want to send a letter to your friend. So the complete full address, consider your full address of your friend. The complete address is the IP address, which is the postal address. How they are going to send the letter? First, they will check the pin code, from which area it belongs, from which state it belongs to. Then they will check the after they will check the which state, which city, which town they belongs to. Then at the last, they will check the first line of the address, which is the place, the location of the address, which location, which house it belongs to. That is the MAC address. MAC address is your physical house address and IP address is the postal address. It means it includes the pin code. So physical address is like my house is post-year building with oak tree or with banana tree or with palm tree. That is the identification of your house. That is the actual location of your building. Okay. So for that reason we have involved the IP address. That's all about MAC address. Let's discuss the IP address in the upcoming session. I hope this video is useful for you. Thank you so much for watching.